any foreign national that's seeking to come to Hong Kong to establish or join in a business needs to make an application to the Hong Kong Immigration Department for a business investment visa. Now, the business investment visa is arguably one of the hardest tests to pass when it comes to Hong Kong immigration, because the Immigration Department apply an approvability test to this particular visa type, which means that you, as a foreign national wishing to live in Hong Kong to carry on that business, need to be able to demonstrate to the Immigration Department's satisfaction that you can make a substantial contribution to the economy of Hong Kong. Now, going about demonstrating that you can make a substantial contribution to the economy of Hong Kong means that in the context of your business plan, you need to be able to show, firstly, that you have the potential to create local employment opportunities. Not straight away, but certainly within the first 6 to 9 months, there's an expectation that at least one job will be created that will be available to local people. Secondly, you need to have business premises that are suitable for the business. The idea being that if you plan to run this business in Hong Kong from your kitchen table or your spare bedroom, then this is arguably not a good place for your local employees to report to in due course when they start doing their work for you. Therefore, you do have to have suitable business premises. Now, you can start off, for example, with a co-working space or a virtual office, but in due course, the idea that you can somehow run your business from premises ultimately on the dirt cheap, or indeed without any formal investment in suitable business premises, will mean that your application is arguably slated for failure. So that's the second leg of the approvability stool. The third leg of the approvability stool breaks down into two parts. Both are resources, which have cash resources and non-cash resources. Literally, the million-dollar question for Hong Kong investment visa is how much cash should you really be showing to the Immigration Department? Well, of course, it really does depend on all the contingencies of your business plan. But in my experience, if you have between $500,000 and $1 million Hong Kong dollars available to the business, and that's important, available to the business, because you don't actually have to put it all into the company, you at least need to be able to show the Immigration Department that you've got the funding to be able to support the business, and at least in terms of the Hong Kong company bank account that you're going to put money into to show to the Immigration Department that you can fund your operational activities, you're expected to demonstrate potentially about 6 months worth of cash flow. So if you can put that much money into your Hong Kong company bank account, and it doesn't have to be by way of share capital, it can in fact be indeed loan capital if that's what you prefer, but in addition to the 6 months worth of operating cash that you put into the company bank account, you need to show that you've got the remaining cash available to you, standing in your own name. They've got to be readily accessible funds, so having a property that you might need to sell typically won't pass muster with the department. But if you've got anything that's reasonably convertible into cash in the short notice, then that's going to suffice for the purposes of the cash element of the resources limb of the approvability test. But on the other hand, the other resources, the non-cash resources the department are looking for, are principally all the kinds of things that you have in play that are driving you to make the decision to invest in the Hong Kong business in the first place. In this regard, it can be, for example, a working prototype, it could be some sort of intellectual property that's proven to be successful once deployed overseas, and if you bring it to Hong Kong and deploy it here, you can argue that you stand a good chance of meeting the same kind of success that you met previously, or it met previously overseas. If you've got confirmed clients, if you've got confirmed business, if you've got revenues that have been generated already, all of these things go together to make up the third leg of the approvability stool, and that is that you can show that you've got the resources to allow you to go on to make a substantial contribution to the economy of Hong Kong. So if you've got all of those three things present and you submit an application to the Immigration Department, you'll find that the 4 to 6 months that it takes for the Immigration Department to consider your application and then give you the result on it affords you the time that you need to be able to create the new facts on the ground and be able to demonstrate that by the time the Immigration Department are ready to finalise your application, you are indeed making a substantial contribution to the economy of Hong Kong. Now, one final point which raises its head all the time in relation to investment visas is what I've called the catch-22, which is you come to Hong Kong as a visitor, you haven't got the permissions to join in this business, you make an application to the Immigration Department and you find that the Immigration Department are asking for things that suggest that you've already joined in this business, that you are in fact creating those new facts on the ground that the Immigration Department need to be able to be satisfied that you are able of actually making that substantial contribution to the economy of Hong Kong. So this is the catch-22. How can you, on the one hand, fulfill the requirements of the Immigration Department to show you can make a substantial contribution to the economy of Hong Kong, and how can you dovetail that into the reality, on the other hand, that you don't actually have the immigration status to be able to do that? The way it works is the Immigration Department understand this problem, and therefore, because they don't want to throw logs at the feet of entrepreneurs, they effectively engage in a kind of no ask, no tell policy, whereby so long as you have an application in the system, they will effectively close their eyes to any prospective or indeed actual breach of conditions of stay, because in the final analysis it's the Immigration Department ultimately determine whether they should prosecute for breach of conditions of stay, and when they can see that you've empowered them to take a view as to your particular investment activities in Hong Kong, even though you've got a visitor visa, so long as you've got an application in the system, in my experience of 20 years of practicing Hong Kong immigration law, the Immigration Department forbear to prosecute. So the final message is you can make an application whilst you're in Hong Kong as a visitor, creating new facts on the ground. The Immigration Department will effectively enable you to do that whilst not actively and positively endorsing you to be able to do it. But once they've gone through the process of assessing your entire application and seeing the progress that you've made over the course of the 4 to 5 to 6 months that it takes for them to finalise the application, you'll get the approval that you're looking for. Finally, everything that you need in order to work efficiently and effectively and constructively on a Hong Kong investment visa application is available on our website 100% free of charge. You can find it at hongkongvisahandbook.com.